This is Judge Joe Brown, and you're watching We All Be News TV, the
News-free Dixie.
news-free Dixie for the 21st century.
Good evening, boys and girls, scholars and laymen, and welcome to another wonderful edutainment, infotainment edition of The Art of It Stinks. I'm your host for the empowerment segment, Brother Ron, also known as R2, C2, H2, The Art of It. Today's topic: for every Jesse Williams, there is a Sage Steele. Once again, boys and girls, scholars and laymen, for every Jesse Williams, there is a Sage Steele. Now, what am I referring to? Well, there was a lot of controversy recently. This is also Black History Month as I record this, about ESPN anchor Sage Steele, a popular analyst on ESPN, especially during basketball season. She was invited to a forum about race, and I just want to quote her correctly in her own words. What she said about race and about black people. And just Sage Steele is a biracial woman. She identifies as a biracial woman. Her mother is a Caucasian and her father is a black man. Once again, she identifies as a biracial woman, and this is what she had to say. I want to quote her correctly, because I believe in being responsible like that. And also, you can look online to find out what she said for yourself. Take a look. It's all online. Okay, boys and girls, scholar laymen. And also, feel free to support the We All Be movement. Check out our YouTube channel, of course. We All Be TV. Search for We All Be TV, and we should pop up just fine. And if you like what you heard from Mr. Hurd and others, please spread the word. And and donate to the cause, support the movement. But Sage Steele, the worst racism that I have received has come from black people. A conference on race took place at the Crossing Church in Tampa Bay, Florida, last week. The forum, titled Under Our Skin, attracted sports figures such as Super Bowl champion Tony Dungy, former player Ben Watson, and current ESPN anchor Sage Steele. Okay, I will get to what she said real quick. She said the following: there are times that I believe that we as African Americans can be hypocritical. Is that the word? And that it is to not look ourselves. Oh, I'm on some woo. Let me start it back over. There are times that I believe that we as African Americans can be hypocritical, and that it is to not look ourselves in the mirror when we are saying certain things and blaming other groups for one thing when we are doing the exact same thing. The worst racism that I have received as a biracial woman married to a white man, and I mean thousands and thousands over the years, is from black people who in my mind thought would be the most accepting because there has been that experience. But even as recent as the last couple of weeks, the words that I have had thrown at me, I can't repeat here. And it's 99% from people with my skin color. But what if a white person said those words to me? What would happen? Okay, so that's something she said at this forum, and interesting. Like I said, everybody, we can all agree to disagree, right? We can all agree to disagree. That's her point of view. She tried to come out as objective, but she's really subjective, because she tried to say, well, 99%. I don't know if she can really. I mean, it might seem that way to her. Her perception is her reality. But what I want to say is this: there's no such thing as a racist black person in a system of white supremacy. Once again, a black person cannot be racist in a system that benefits white people. A black person can be a human being. A black person can be hateful, can be spiteful, can be prejudiced. All that stuff, can be angry at white people. Does not make them a racist. To me, a racist is a person that can be empowered to deny people certain access to systemic and institutional things. Black people, as the system is designed, have no real power or leverage to deny white people anything in terms of education, healthcare, food, housing. We are not in a position to deny white folks anything from what I just named recently. But we have been denied those things in this system of white supremacy. And I would say this: all white people are racist. I did not say all white people were hateful or angry or despise black people. I define a racist as a person who benefits from a system that favors them. Once again, I reinvented the word racism. It's like white folks flip words like gay and all this other stuff and equal rights and what affirmative action mean. I'm telling you right now, from in my platform, in my paradigm, that racism means a person that benefits from a system that favors them. Privileges, all types of things. I'm going to tell you all this right now. Being poor and white in this system is not the same. It's not the same as being black and poor in this system. Once again, boys and girls, scholars and laymen, being poor and white in this system is not the same as being black and poor in this system. Even poor white got transferable wealth. They have transferable generational wealth. It's like, to paraphrase Paul Mooney, you got the complexion for the protection. And if you don't know how to use your complexion for your benefit, then it's just a waste of white skin, to be honest with you. So Sage Steele, when she said that black folks could be racist, she already, in my mind, undermined her own point of view, her credibility. Because I just proved to you that a black person, in no stretch of the imagination, can be a racist in a system that does not benefit them. Now, they can be used by white supremacy and white supremacists. Black folks have been known to be used by the system of white supremacy to further undermine their own position, as well as the position of their group that they are identified with in the system of white supremacy. That's a no-brainer, but they don't make them a racist or a white supremacist. They're just being used. And like, really, black people in this system, we are nothing more than commodities. And we was the first commodities traded on Wall Street. During the Civil War, they call us contraband. When we ran away from massa to the Union Army, they call us contraband. Not man, woman, and child, but contraband, property. You know, nothing more. Be damned if we have feelings or not. Be damned if we have a point of view or not. So, and also you gotta realize, there's a black person, all the trauma that you get from people, including black people, comes from being in the white supremacist plantation matrix. Like, even when a black person does you wrong, even a black person hurt your feelings, the reason why that happened is because we all are living and dying in a white supremacist system. White supremacy is real. I know people want to say it's not real, it's all in your head. No, it's real. And not real in the sense that it's natural real. White supremacy does not exist in nature. White is not supreme in nature. Think about white bread, white flour, white sugar. That undermines your health, right? So white is not supreme. White is recessive in nature, right? But what it is you got a system construct that is enforced by brutality and viciousness, genocide, all types of murder, all types of death. It undermines the potential of the majority of the human beings on this planet. The system that we are now paying taxes in, that we are living and dying in, undermines the full potential of humanity on this planet. Humanity on this planet, the majority of the people on this planet are people of color, non-white people. So white supremacy is a system to keep the minority on top of the majority. To deny the majority access to a certain quality of life is evil. To feel like it's okay for 3 billion people on the planet to live on $1.50 a day is evil. To justify a system that allows a 1% to control the destiny, the future, and the reality of 99% of the people on the planet is criminal. So once again, say still, yes, black people can be mean. Yes, black people can be hateful. Yes, they can hurt your feelings. Yes, they can make you feel bad about yourself because you already in an insecure place being a quote-unquote biracial woman. So, but black people can't be racist. So that's the problem. Like, you know, it's interesting, like I said, for every Jesse Williams, there's a Sage Steele. Like, you compare and contrast Jesse Williams with Sage Steele. For every Jesse Williams, you have a Sage Steele. Sage Steele, her mom's white. She described half Irish, half Italian, which is basically she's a white nigger. I mean, that's not my construct for that. That's a societal construct. Because Irish at one point and even Italians were considered the niggers of the white race. They're actually the new white. They're the new white phenomenon. They've been white for the last 100 plus years, or maybe less than 100 years. But they was not always considered white. Irish was not always considered white. Italian was not always considered white. So that's her mom, and her daddy's black. Military brat, I guess. Moved around a lot. Military family. Jesse Williams, his mama's white or Swedish, and his dad is black. You know, which is interesting. You compare and contrast to. But Jesse Williams, he's a Black Lives Matter activist. He said that incredible rebel-rousing speech at the BET Awards last year that put him on the map and put a target basically on his back by white supremacy. He was able to talk that, and you know, people felt that. Whereas Sage Steele was saying that it's not the white folks, it's the black folks that's the problem. The racism lies with the black people, not with the white people. And I'm simplifying this. I'm not trying to attack Sage Steele, but this is her worldview, is that a majority of the racism that she dealt with in her life came from black people. Whereas Jesse Williams is looking at a system that denies black people their human and civil rights. He critiqued the system that denies black folks access to a certain quality of life, whereas Sage Steele put the blame for racism on black people. And racism is a white folks problem. Black folks are not qualified to solve racism. It's not on black people to solve racism. It is on white folks who have benefited from racism to solve racism. It's on white people. So also another thing too, both of them biracial, and we see now that swirling does not end the issue of racism, white supremacy. Swirling or interracial dating and marriage and having kids does not end the issue of racism, white supremacy. In a lot of ways, it confuses the issue. Now, I know people that look just like Sage Steele. They are dear friends of mine. Biracial. Mama white, daddy black. Got the curly hair, got the same complexion. And I talk to them, you know, every now and then. Good friends of mine. And it's interesting. But they talk about, you know, the racism the hate that they receive from the white part of their family tree. How they're not always accepted by their white family, or they may be accepted by their white family, but their white family talks very bad and very critical of black people. And you know, they got the black part of them. But I'm saying they talk about loved ones, white loved ones they love dearly, like a grandma or somebody like that, saying real horrible things about black people while they're present, but they're not looked upon as being necessarily black. They're accepted black, or they don't always identify themselves as black people. One of them I know is married to a white dude, just like Steele is. But you can't, when you look at them, the first thing you think is that, oh, they black. But they don't always accept that as being their first identity. So it's really complicated. It's really complicated. Sex and race. Very interesting. But, you know, black people do themselves a disservice when we keep on saying that black people could be racist. This is not possible in this system as it is constructed. And, you know, white folks are really interesting. You know, white folks, if you're looking from a historical example, white folks created mulattoes during slavery and whatnot, Attn, whatever you want to call them, as a buffer between them and blacks. They like the first line of defense when it comes to the race wars, right? They are used as a buffer, and white folks created that class. And it's you know, it's like they're too white to be black, and yet they're too black to be white, but nobody wants them. That's how it's cast. But you know, we got some great famous leaders who were mulattoes. One famous one, Frederick Douglass. He was for the liberation of black people, but also he was an integrationist. You know, and his second wife was white, about the same age as his daughter. You know, and not to discredit, it doesn't undermine the incredible legacy of a Frederick Douglass, but it is to point out that Frederick Douglass, whose daddy was a white man, did not want to separate from white people regardless of how much evil and inhumane things they'd done to black people. He did not believe in separating from the white race. He wanted to be with the white race, even though these are the people that did a lot of harm to his people. And people will say, well, Brother Ron, aren't you being a little bit harsh or about white people? I'm saying, no, I'm not. I'm looking at their history. Like, they, you know, you do credit, you know, they judge your credit score on your history, on how you use your credit. So if you got good credit, they look at your history. If you got bad credit, look at your history. So I'm looking at the history of how white folks have treated black people overall in this country, and it's been horrible. There would be no need for a Black History Month if it wasn't for white supremacy and racism. There will be no need for a Black History Month. There will be no need for so-called affirmative action. See, all the things that we had to endure in this country, specifically as black Americans, has to deal with the dysfunction of white people. The evilness, the inhumanity of white people. Now, I'm saying this not as hatred. I'm looking at the historical record. I'm looking at the A.L.L, Arkansas massacre of 1919. I'm looking at the East St. Louis race massacre of 1917. I'm looking at Black Wall Street. I'm looking at Rosewood. I'm looking at Emmett Till. I'm looking at chattel slavery. I'm looking at lynching, strange fruit. I'm looking at all this stuff. The Emmanuel 9, the church shootings, 4 little girls, church bombings. I'm looking at all this stuff. And white folks ain't necessarily the most morally sound people on the planet. Everywhere they go, they cause hell. Was not Australia a prison colony? Was not the reason why some of these white folks from Europe came to America is because Europe didn't want them? Now they say it's for religious freedoms and search for land and all this stuff, but these are the folks nobody wanted. Okay? In a lot of ways. That's why they were sent to the Americas, or that's why they were sent to Australia. But I'm not being harsh about it, but I'm looking at the historical record. I don't understand how people can't see that. It's insanity. We don't realize That the reason why we had to have Dr. King's and Malcolm X's and the Civil Rights Movement and Jackie Robinson is because of the barbarity and the savagery and the insanity of white people. Black folks are very spiritual, loving people. We are the first people of the planet. We are the fathers and mothers of the planet. We raised the white supremacists. We raised the racists. Hell, we built their homes for them. We planted their crops. We created their culture. We did all these things for white people. And how do they repay us? By breaking up our families, by raping our women, men, and children. Yes, by raping our men, women, and children. By breaking up the family. The black family is the real Holy Trinity. The black man, woman, and child. That's the Holy Trinity. All the religions came out the motherland. We are the chosen people of the Bible. We was already over here. They didn't bring all us on those little wooden boats going across the Atlantic. Don't believe that lie. Don't believe the hype. A lot of us was already over here. We was everywhere. You know, white folks are the type of people that they'll say, well, let's have a Christopher Columbus Day, and it'd be a federal holiday, but Columbus never made it to the so-called North American continent. But yet, he's celebrated, but it's not even named after him. It's named after, allegedly, Amerigo Vespucci, the Italian explorer, Amerigo Vespucci. But my thing is, it's insanity. So they believe in myth making, not fact finding. Why are black folks trying to fact find and fact check in a system that believes in mythology and myth making and making lies into institutional truth? All this confusion. Like what Brother Malcolm said, if you allow your enemies to be the primary educators of your children, then you are a fool. Once again, if you allow your enemies to be the primary educators of your children, you are a fool. So this is where we find ourselves. These false narratives like black on black crime. Who's killing Italians in Italy? Who's killing Chinese in China? Who's killing North Koreans in North Korea? Black on black crime is a white lie. It's a big white lie. Black on black crime is a big white lie. You kill where you live, and also it's a systemic form of genocide. Who are supplying the drugs and the guns into these so-called black communities? Who are? It ain't black people. Hell, they won't even allow a black person to distribute their own music without bloodshed. How you think they're gonna allow us to distribute guns throughout the country and drugs without their permission? Go back to Mena, Arkansas, when Bill Clinton was governor of Arkansas. Mena, Arkansas had an airport that was ran by the CIA. They were bringing in drugs from South America, from Latin America, and they was using that place as a point to distribute drugs throughout the country. Meanwhile, you blaming Freeway Ricky Ross as the boogeyman when it should have been Ollie North. Oliver North is the real American gangster, not Frank Lucas. So-called General Oliver North is the real American gangster. In the words of Judge Joe Brown, St. Ronald Reagan was the real American gangster, not Frank Lucas, not Frank Matthews. Warren Delano Jr., the maternal grandfather of President Franklin Roosevelt, is the real American gangster, not Nicky Barnes, not Tookie Williams. So take a look. It's all online. So think about the fact that so many black men were lynched because they were allegedly raping white women, when it's been proven now that white women were having consensual relationships with these black men. Consensual relationships. Why do you think we got a black Jack Johnson? They created a law called the Mann Act to keep black Jack Johnson from, digging down white women, but it didn't work. The Mann Act was created for Jack Johnson, a man who was dating and screwing and marrying white women when a black person was getting lynched somewhere in this country every day and day and a half. When they show his boxing matches in movie theaters, white folks would have race riots throughout the whole country. White folks can't stand a black man to be on top. The black man is the most despised and admired person on planet Earth. Once again, I know people don't want to agree with this. I don't really care. The history backs me up. Ain't nobody getting oppressed and repressed like a black man. The black man is the most despised and the most admired person on the planet. Jack Johnson was a man. Regardless of what you agreed that he was better than white girls. And the thing about it is, Jack Johnson was not afraid to be Jack Johnson. But they created a law called the Mann Act that said it was illegal to transport white women, they say women, white women across state lines for so-called immoral purposes. Lucille Cameron ended up being Jack Johnson's wife. So they used this to get the crown back from Jack Johnson. You know, and he served a year, I believe, in Leavenworth, and also he was an inventor. He invented an improvement on the wrench. He actually invented an innovation for the wrench and he got patented back in 1922. Jack Johnson was an interesting character, and I'll talk a little bit more about Jack Johnson in a very near future. But Sage Steele, fascinating, because I remember when I was in college as an undergrad at Washington University in St. Louis, I remember sometimes I used to go to the Association of Black Student meeting, and sometimes you get in that meeting because, like, you know, a lot of black kids that were going to WashU at the time and still going today, a lot of them were well off. You know, they didn't necessarily need a scholarship, but a lot of them was well off with some of the best schools in the country, the best education the money could buy. And I remember in some of the early meetings, even my freshman year, that people would complain about how the reason why they didn't go to black meetings or go to a lot of Association of Black Student meetings was because black folks didn't accept them. They were not accepted by black people. You had almost a whole room of people saying, black folks, they don't accept me. They think I'm weird. I mean, it's basically like, the problem is this. I remember going to that school, and you had a lot of black workers in the cafeteria and in the cleaning section at WashU. You know, you had a lot of black folks in St. Louis. So it was a lot of black people, large population. But a lot of most of the black workers that lived in this area, that lived in St. Louis all their lives, a lot of them could not even get a chance of going to WashU as a student. So, I mean, I think it was a lot of tension. When I remember I was there my freshman year, there was a lot of friction between workers and some of the black students, some of the black workers and the black students. And my thing, I made my job to go cross that line and, respect these black workers and, and get to know them, and they got to know me. And some of us became good friends while I was there. It melted some ice, but some people felt, that, some of the black workers might have thought that, some of these black students really uppity. And some of the black students may have thought, man, I feel bad because they might look at me as being uppity, or they don't even want to give me a chance. So they said, fuck it, I'm not going to even try to get to know them. So we got all this confusion. And all this is because we are living in a white supremacy, racism matrix plantation. You know what I'm saying? Because all about divide and conquer, because black power is unity and solidarity. White power is divide and conquer. So as long as we had these preconceived notions in our mind about who we were to each other, we could never find a way to get along and work on things that were essential and mutual to progress. So I got beyond that. I got out of my comfort zone, because you can't get anywhere if you always sitting in a comfortable situation. Sometimes you need to be uncomfortable to get where you need to go. You're never going to discover your true voice if everything always comes to you easily, if everything's always handed to you. You don't ask for what you want, you gotta take what you want. And that's how it works. So I decided doing that for 4 years. I stepped out my comfort zone, started getting to know some of these workers, and I found myself as being a leader of the black students on campus in terms of being able to reach out and talk with the workers as human beings. We're all human beings trying to survive, trying to make it in a world that's not made for us. Even found myself being an advocate for some of the workers. I remember when a sister got fired under very questionable and unethical circumstances, and I ended up writing a letter to management, and she got hired back within a couple of days. Or I remember when a manager that I really liked and respected, she passed away unexpectedly. It was very tragic. She's a young lady. And I petitioned, I got students organized to petition the company that she worked for to put a memorial plaque in the store that they ran in honor of her. So I believe some meaningful and very substance-based relationships while I was there. And really, the quality of your life is dependent on the quality of your relationships with people as well as with yourself. Once again, the quality of your life is dependent on your relationships with people as well as yourself, your relationship with yourself. Me, myself, and I. So, I say all this to say that Sage Steele, I could be sympathetic towards her because she was a military brat. She moved around a lot. She wasn't able to, I guess, form a lot of meaningful relationships moving around that much. I believe she does identify mostly as a white person. She married a white man. And that's fine. You can marry who you want to marry. I'm not, do what you want to do. It's your life. But at the same time, you cannot tell me, and I'm going to take you seriously, that majority of the people that you encountered that were racist were black people. These folks did not have any power to deny you a successful broadcasting career that you have been in the business for 20 plus years. All the insults to your character and to your ego that black folks allegedly caused did not ruin you from having a successful broadcasting career, having a high standard of living, having a certain quality of living. So when you try to blame the victim, because this system is good at making the victim feel like a bully, like the predator. It's good at that, right? And we got to reverse that. I'm putting up a challenge for black folks to reverse that curse. Stop blaming the victim for being victimized. Sage Steele is a victim too. She's a victim because here's a woman, she's a grown woman, she's educated, she's professional, she's at a certain standard of living, she has kids. So her worldview is interesting to me. Where you have all this access that you have access to things that can better educate you on certain issues, but yet you choose to believe that racism that you encounter begins and ends with black people. I'm just not buying that. I'm just not buying that. I'm just not buying it. It's like the NBA. Majority of the owners in the NBA are white men. Majority of the players in the NBA are black men. The white men are the billionaires, while the black men are the millionaires. Right? So who has more say? Who has more power? Who does this system favor and benefits? So I want to thank you all for listening. I know it's kind of like, what the hell Ron talking about? It is what it is. Hit or miss with me, because I'm just flying by the seat of my pants as I navigate these troubled waters. But if you like what you heard from Mr. Hurd, please spread the word. You can hit us up, We All Be TV on YouTube. And also, please feel free to donate to the Army of One that's repping for the We All Be Nation, because we're trying to build a brand and institutionalize some of the thoughts, ideas, and philosophy of me, Brother Ron, aka R2C2H2, the Artivist. And I want to continue to reach you all with a lot of information that you might not get on other platforms. My point of view, sometimes, it blows my mind and humble me that people are really interested in what I have to say about certain topics and issues. So I want you to feel free to comment and continue the discussion. Share this with your friend about the Sage Steele controversy, so-called controversy. It's not really controversy to me, because she actually thinks like a lot of people think out there in society, that black folks can be racist and that black folks are the reason why black folks can't get ahead. No, that's the number one reason, because black folks can't get along. White folks can't get along either. What you call world wars? That's when white folks can't get along. What is a stock market crash? What's a recession? That's when white folks can't get along. The only reason things keep afloat is because black folks spend so much money. We are the largest consumers and losers in this system. Once again, black folks are the largest consumers and losers in this system. That's another topic for another day. Thank you all once again for listening. In the words of the great Delton, we love you madly. Keep on producing and pushing.